Chapter 4. Nick parked his golf cart on the street, at the base of the concrete stairs leading up to Roosevelt Hall. He raced up the stairs to find Betty sitting at a long table with only one 6-inch stack of papers left. "I thought you were the hotel receptionist," Nick said, nearly out of breath. "We on the staff can walk down the street and comb our hair at the same time. You're not late, but you are the last one. Here, take your packet." She handed Nick his orientation papers. "The students never read these, but I think you should, Mr. Falcone." "Why should I be the only one to read it?" "It'll give you a leg up, one step further away from prison." "You know about that?" "You better get in there, Mr. Falcone. It's the first classroom arena on the right." Nick took his papers and flipped through them while he walked as if he were shuffling a deck of cards. By the time he reached the entrance to the arena, he had read and committed to memory every word. He stood at the top of the arena and surveyed it. There were 30 rows of chairs leading down to a stage. A lone podium stood at the bottom of the well. The two top rows held older men and women in suits who were faculty or armed security. Nick didn't know which. The 50 new students were seated below them, closer to the stage. Nick looked for Andy, but she must have changed out of her yellow suit because he couldn't see it anywhere. Maybe Andy had already hijacked the sailboat and was on her way somewhere out in the Caribbean. About half the people were men and half women. There were 12 blacks and 3 Hispanic students, and 7 of them were women. Nick hustled to a seat next to a black man in the 4th row. They looked at each other briefly, but neither spoke. There was silence in the room. At about the time Nick took a seat, a 50-something man wearing a close-cropped haircut, black horn-rimmed glasses, and a white short-sleeved dress shirt with a thin black tie came out from the side of the stage and stood behind the podium. The man looked as if he'd just stepped out from a time capsule at a Boeing engineering lab in the year 1956. "My name is Professor X, faculty head here at the college. You'll find there is no need to know the faculty's real names, but we know yours. We know everything about each one of you. We have the results of every intelligence, aptitude, and personality test you have ever taken, from elementary school to present. You should know those tests were given at your schools were not for your benefit, but for ours. There are 50 students in each class level. Each level lasts for 1 year, or much less, depending on your success and our needs. There are no exams, and you will not flunk out. You will come to realize your efforts here are not for our praise, but for reward on the outside after you leave, both for you and the greater cause. You can refer to your instructors as professor. It will be much simpler that way. Or use the names they may tell you. There is no television, no internet, no newspapers, no cell phones, and no communication with the outside world, except for the faculty, of course. Some of you were selected for your superior intelligence and aptitudes. Some of your IQs are off the charts. Some were picked for your extraordinary but wasted talents. Many of you are criminals. None of you have a single trait in common except for one thing. You are all wonderful psychopaths to one degree or another. You love taking advantage of people for your selfish benefit, and you love money and fame. But the main thing you have in common is that you don't care if you trample on others 1 iota in reaching your goal. Other people's feelings are laughable to you. Hurting others gives you a thrill, and we like that. There are a lot of psychopaths in the world, but they weren't invited here. Some wouldn't come even if we couldn't force them to. Some just wouldn't appreciate the opportunity we are offering. Some couldn't handle any contact with the outside world for 4 years. Although you will be issued laptops, you will have no internet service. There is an island intercom and landline phone service. So, what will your education here do to make you stand out from the rest of the world? To bring you riches you could only have dreamed of? And why are we offering this to you? The purpose of the college is to make you into an unassailable leader, to allow you to use your talents in a way where any group or legal authority cannot challenge you. You will be the legal authority, from murder to the theft of trillions of dollars, to the making or the breaking of presidents, to starting or ending wars, to dramatically changing popular culture. You will be able to do it all with impunity and in plain sight. We build 4 types of people here, and therefore there are 4 major courses of study: political, cultural, financial, and media. Many classes will overlap between the majors. Can you imagine running for high political office and no one can criticize you for anything you do or say? This unassailability is one of the beautiful things we create here. You probably have heard quite a bit about some of our graduates, although you'd never know they were made right here on this island. You'll be contacted from time to time by us in the future to accomplish various missions. Your involvement will continue until the day you die. You have already been assigned to one of these majors. Your curriculum will be available to you at the table outside after the orientation. You may be able to change your major at some point if we deem it in our best interest. You can sit out by the pool or windsurf at the beach for the next year, and we don't care. You may leave here any time you want, but you would only be hurting yourself. A few of you will go to prison if you choose to leave or not cooperate. Or some may die a mysterious death or converted by a new process we are perfecting. So bear that in mind. The classes will begin tomorrow at 9 a.m. Are there any questions? Nick was the only one to raise his hand. Yes, Mr. Falcone? Why can't we choose our majors? Of the 4 you offer, I know which one I'd prefer, but what if you give me one I don't want? You don't even know where you are. How can you know what you want? I know what you don't want, Mr. Falcone. Besides, it doesn't make any difference what you want. Relax and let the program work for you. 20 years from now, you'll thank me. Are there any other questions? The black man sitting next to Nick raised his hand. Yes, Hakeem Jackson, isn't it? Yes, sir. My question is about security. I know we're isolated here on some remote island and all, but what if someone tries to steal my shit? What if one of the sisters here gets sexually assaulted? How are you going to resolve that? Where's the police? We have security everywhere, armed security. What you think is merely another student might be an undercover agent. Hidden cameras are everywhere. We know everything that goes on, and we deal with these sorts of things in our own way. Problems that do arise here are quickly resolved. Now, if there are no more questions, please file out to the table where Betty will give you your class schedule. A tall, skinny, sandy-haired student raised his hand. Yes, Mr. Goldstein, what is it? What is being converted? Sometimes it's best not to ask questions. Nick was in the middle of the line, which extended to the bottom of the steps. He didn't see Andy in front of him, and he didn't want to make it evident by turning his head around to look for her. The line out of the arena moved quickly. As each student came to Betty at the table, no words were spoken. She handed out a sealed envelope stamped with the words, Do not open until you return to your room. The students took their envelopes, got into their golf carts, and drove back to the hotel. When Nick's turn came, he took his envelope and said to Betty, "Want to go to a dinner and a movie tonight?" "Sure, pick me up at 7 in your golf cart. We'll go to Ruth's Chris for steaks and then see a Broadway show." Betty looked past Nick to the others in the line. "Next." Nick kicked off his shoes, set 2 pillows up against the headboard, and flopped on his bed, holding his envelope. He held it up to the light to try to see through. "Please be politics," Nick said out loud. He ripped open the envelope and took out a single sheet of paper and read it. "Nick Falcone, your major is media. Please be at Reagan Hall tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. There was a knock on his door. Nick's heart raced a bit, hoping it might be Andy coming to commiserate with him on the assumption she wouldn't like her major either, no matter what it was. Instead, it was Hakeem Jackson, all 6'4" of him, standing in the hallway with his envelope in his hand. "Can I come in?" he said. "Be my guest," Nick said. He motioned with his hands toward the couch in the living room, and both men took a seat. "You didn't open your envelope yet." "What did you get?" Hakeem said. "Media, and I haven't the slightest idea about it other than watching the news on TV. "I want finance," Hakeem said, "but it seems like I never get anything I want. But then again, whenever I do get what I want, then I don't want it anymore. Here goes nothing." Hakeem ripped open his envelope and read, "Politics. That's just great. I hate politicians. Cops, too." "Want a beer?" Nick said. "There's 3 6-packs of Bud Light in the refrigerator." "Sure. There was only Thunderbird wine in my refrigerator. Wonder what that's all about." Nick handed Hakeem a beer, and they both opened their cans and drank. "This place is weird, man. It's probably run by the CIA or something. They think they're so smart," Nick said. Hakeem finished his beer in 2 gulps and made a perfect 3-point shot of the can into the wastepaper basket across the room. "Nah, this place is way above the CIA. I think the CIA, the FBI, and the government take orders from these people." Nick finished his beer and set the empty can on the coffee table in front of the couch. "So who's in charge here? I mean, who's paying for all of this and running the show?" Hakeem thought for a moment and looked at Nick. "You know what this place is? We're the New Rhodes Scholars, brought up to modern times. The people who own the world don't wait around for a chance to determine who's going to have all the wealth and control all the people. In the world strata of control, there are those above us, those who use us, and then there's us." Nick looked a bit confused. "You mean we're just puppets here, dancing on the string of the world's wealthiest people?" "What the fuck do I know?" Hakeem said. "I guess I'll find out if they don't kill us first. Professor X is a strange dude. I think he was threatening all of us. If we don't buckle down and play the game they want, they'll load us into a helicopter, take us out over the ocean, and kick our asses goodbye." "I don't plan on crossing him," Nick said. "Besides, I'd rather spend 4 years here in this resort playing a stupid game on their dime than clean shit out of toilets." "What the fuck are you talking about, man?" "I'm a plumber." "Right, and I'm a postmodernist painter." Nick felt his stomach rumbling. "You up for some dinner? I'm starving." Hakeem stood. "That's the most sensible thing I've heard all day. Let's go." The 2 men got on the elevator and rode down to the lobby. They walked past the front desk where Betty was busy at work. She looked up from her laptop for a moment and was about to smile at Nick when she stopped herself. Nick winked at her, and Betty quickly buried her face back in her keyboard. "Forget about that chick," Hakeem said. She's rough sandpaper old. Did you check out all the women here in our class? I think I'm going to enjoy these next 4 years, whether I become an unassailable or not. You into chicks, Nick? Not that it's any of my business. They were standing in the doorway of the restaurant, looking around the room. Oh, I'm into chicks. But there's one in particular right now that I'd like to get to know a little better, if you know what I mean. She's sitting at the foretop over there. Nick nodded his head to the far side of the restaurant, where Andy was sitting with another woman, looking at their menus. Come on, Nick said. When Nick and Hakeem reached Andy's table, Hakeem sat immediately. Mind if we join you, Nick said. Andy looked up from her menu. Looks like you already have. Besides, it's open seating here, so I can't stop you. I can only make sure I'm sitting at a full table next time. Nick sat next to Hakeem. What's with all the hostility towards me? I've been a complete gentleman, have I? Forget it, Nick, Hakeem said. If a bitch ain't into you, she ain't into you. And there's plenty of fish in the sea. And we're right in the middle of it, in more ways than one. Who's your friend? Nick said to Andy. The woman next to Andy extended her hand across the table. She looked like Andy's fraternal twin, the one that didn't come out so lovely. But she had a broad smile and seemed eager to meet the two men. I'm Carol Clark. I hope we can all be friends. Well, maybe you know that I'm Nick, and my new friend here is Hakeem. Carol closed her menu and put it down on the table. Andy's room is right across the hall from mine. I didn't have time to pack any clothes, but Andy was kind enough to lend me this outfit until I can get to the store. Hakeem made a point of checking out her clothes. I think it looks mighty fine on you, he said. You're such a gentleman, Carol said. She seemed to force a blush to her cheeks. He's a supreme con man, Andy said. Watch out for that one. He'll steal your heart, then all of your money. Nick was about to say something when a young black waitress in a flowery pink dress came to take their orders. Her accent was Jamaican and she didn't smile. She wrote down their selections and then headed to the kitchen. I wonder where they get people to come and work on this island, it being so secret and all. I mean, do they think they're just going to another Caribbean resort for a while and then bring the money they earn back home to their low-income families? Nick said. Don't give her too much credit, Carol said. And be careful what you say. She's wearing a wire. I could see the bulge under her dress. I didn't see anything on the sister, Hakeem said. I'm good at seeing things other people can't see, Carol said. Oh yeah, Nick said. What do you see on Andy that I can't see? That's between Carol and me, Andy said. Hakeem gently put his palms down on the table, but it still made a noise. All right, let's change the subject and talk about something important. What did you get for majors, ladies? Finance, Carol said. Cultural, Andy said. Nick ripped at his paper napkin and was rolling it into small pieces that shaped like spears. What are the chances that we all are sitting at the same dinner table together, but we all got different majors? I'm media and Hakeem is politics. I should have been finance, Andy said. And I should have been cultural, Carol said. The Jamaican waitress brought the drinks to the table. The four of them held up their glasses and clicked them together. Nick led the toast. Here's to success and what none of us want. I'd settle for food now, Andy said. I'm starving to death.